Fight fans, welcome to the Mad World. I'm Coach Sess. Today I want to go over some basic concepts that are going to help you improve your training. Recently we just had some fights over the weekend, and I noticed that some of the teams that were on the card were last minute replacements. Some were fairly new to the MMA game, and some have been out there, but they didn't have the correct training from my best position, from what I could see. They just didn't have the best training. And what I want to do is offer you some basic concepts that'll help you improve where you are and what you're doing, so that you don't stay on the same path, because that's the whole point of training, is to revitalize any sticking points that you may have in your training and take it to the next level. Okay, so the first thing that I saw was that I've seen some of the teams that were more of a team, but they just had random results. One guy may win, another guy may get knocked out or whatever. I looked at that team and I thought, what they needed is better assessment of what they do. So the normal reaction when you lose a fight is you want to run out and find a new instructor. You want to run out and find a new team to work with. Think of it like this, okay? So if you hurt your arm, your leg, your knee, you're having chest pains, you go to the doctor. He doesn't teach you how to be a doctor. What he does is he makes an assessment. He assesses the situation. He makes an assessment of what's going on. Okay, he helps you find out why you're having the chest pains. Okay, and then he hits you with serious consequences. He tells you, if you don't stop doing this thing that's causing the chest pains, you're going to die. And then afterwards, he gives you a sequence of actions, because these actions will change your behavior, and that behavior will lead to you not having the chest pains. So jumping up and running to a new team or a new instructor isn't necessarily going to put you on the winning path. What's going to put you on the winning path is having more of a coach who can help you understand these situations. That's what's important. You don't need to go get the doctor's education, because that's usually what happens. Everybody wants to, well, now I need to get my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt education. Now I need to get my Muay Thai education. Now I need to get my boxing education. So they bring in instructors to teach them how to be better boxers and kickboxers and grapplers. And that's not exactly what you need to begin with. So it's kind of a stage you have to go through. So you want to do an honest assessment, and when you assess, you have to really evaluate where you are. In other words, you've got to look at it like a crime scene. When you walk in, the crime scene is what it is. Okay? If you have 2 dead bodies, we don't speculate how they got there. You have 2 dead bodies. That is it. Okay? So when you're not getting the results you want at the fight, you have to accept the results. You have to clearly accept the fact that we lost by choke, we lost by knockout, we lost by decision, we were dominated, we weren't prepared, whatever the reason that you basically believe, you have to accept the fact you didn't get the results you wanted. Then you have to kind of look at the situation from a realistic point of view and ask yourself, do I have the right people on the bus? Am I training with the right people? And when I say people, what I mean is, do my people who I'm in the gym with now have the right and correct attributes? You may not be taking advantage of what you fully have in your gym. I'll give you an example. There's a couple gyms that I bounce around and I check out, and I see one gym where the guy who's in control of the grappling is actually not necessarily the best fighter. The guy who's the best fighter should be in control of the grappling. You understand what I'm saying? Is the guy who doesn't necessarily win fights yes, if you isolate grappling by itself, he is somewhat better and more knowledgeable, all right? But the guy who actually wins the fights can actually elevate the training a little bit to make it a little bit more realistic. So for the time being, in my best judgment, they need to flip the script a little bit and give the guy who's winning the fights a little bit more leeway to play with it. And then that will help them develop the feel and the timing. And then it makes sense to come in with a little bit of, okay, now here's where technique goes. Okay, so you gotta make sure that we know what we're working with. We have to know what ingredients we have before we start mixing anything up. And usually that's the process that most people will take you through in the martial art world. When you walk in and you say, hey, I'm here to learn boxing or kickboxing, whatever it is, and the first thing they do is they put you in a convoluted stance and they tell you to stand like this and stand like that and move like this and move like that. And there's no real assessment of what you already do. There's no real assessment of who you are. And then as you're doing that, they take their eyes off of you and you're still doing what they say that you need to do. Another instructor comes along and says, hey, what are you doing? You're doing that all wrong. And sometimes it's the same instructor that comes back and you're doing exactly what he's told you to do. And then he says, oh, you're not doing it fast enough, or you're not doing it with the same timing. So it keeps changing the structure. And after a while, you become confused and you're starting to feel like a robot, because you're trying to fit into this perfect little box, this perfect little category, and it's just not going to work for you because it's not your body. It's not how you move. So when we assess the players in the game, especially fighters who are already fighting, I don't like to go backwards and try to undo, all right? What I try to do is suspend the stuff that's not working for us. I just want to suspend it. I don't want to even deal with it. I just want to work on the things that they already do well so we can move forward, all right? Because fighters are going to fight. They're going to fight in a short period of time, whether I want them to or not. So with that reality being the truth, I am going to focus on the things that are going to help them win, okay? So again, when you assess yourself, you have to know, the when, the where, the what, the why, the how. We already know the who. That's you, okay? We want to make sure that we're being honest about the things that we really know, the things that we really can do, all right? Then you really got to take this part right here, the serious consequences. The worst that could happen, in a fight is that you could lose your life. And if you're a team captain, you're the leader of the team, you're a coach, you're responsible for the lives of others. So you've got to really take into account that someone could die. There could be serious consequences if you don't go back and assess your team in a correct and proper way. Again, you can't run to, your car starts beeping around, bumping around, you run to the mechanic to get it fixed. You don't run to the mechanic to learn how to be a mechanic. Then that's the mistake that's in martial arts. We all want to run to someone to learn how to be whatever it is that we feel like we're lacking. We want to get it fixed first. That's the first thing we want to do. We want to assess the situation, understand what our consequences are, and if we work backwards from consequences, you could die. That's the worst case scenario. A person could be permanently injured. They could never fight again. They could be rendered unconscious. And the thing about the being unconscious is that they could start developing concussions over time, and then they won't be able to fight. All right? And if this is something that they do because they love it, they have a passion for it, or even to some degree this is their livelihood, you're taking that away from them if you're not a coach who is properly assessing his team and taking this serious as they do. And then of course you could just lose a fight. Not that big of a deal in the total scope of things, but let's say that you work for a gym. Let's say the gym brings you in and you're the instructor or the coach. Then this is your results are a type of evaluation. So you want to make sure that you are getting the wins, and none of the top college coaches are going to remain there for very long if they don't produce results. So at some point in time, you have to produce results. And as far as making those changes, those sequence of actions, you have to change your behavior. So it could be anything from guys coming into the gym late, guys not making all the training sessions, the order that you run the workout in. And I mentioned before, who you put in charge. That makes a difference. If you don't do those things, you're going to keep getting the same results. And if you don't make a good assessment of yourself, if you don't take the consequences seriously, and you don't change your behavior, you're going to make an ass of yourself. Honestly, that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to continue to make an ass of yourself because you won't change anything.